welcome to WRUU LP Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Science Community Radio with Global Soul. I'm your host, Adam Messer, and this is the Adam Messer Show. And today you're listening to Sebastian Messer play live music. And we have a very special guest with us. He's been on the show before, Craig Martelle, and he is a best-selling author, well known for his sci-fi series and other works that he does. He's a big advocate for indie authors, and he's been an attorney. You are a retired Marine, right?
That's right.
And you're basically one of the best well-known indie authors out there. I mean, like, you're just killing it out there. So welcome back, Craig. Thank you so much for being here today.
Hey, thanks for having me on again, Adam.
Okay, so last time we were talking just a couple weeks ago. So everybody, if you want to check out that episode, you can go to savannahmuses.com. That goes right to the Apple iPod podcast page. And Craig's episode, we were talking last time about, different best practices for being an indie author. Today, I wanted to ask you some more about like the business side of it and the marketing side of it, as well as I wanted to ask you and talk to you about your videos that you've been doing, the YouTube interviews that you've been doing for the 20 Books to 50K group. So, again, thanks a lot for being here, Craig. I know you live out in Alaska, so the time difference is, a little bit strange for us from one coast to the other. We're literally on the coast, and you guys are out there on the other side. So thanks a lot for being here. So,
hey, my pleasure. I almost missed it. I was sound asleep a minute and a half ago.
That's what I like about you. You're like, snap awake, boom, ready to go, ready to rock and roll. So
you call and you're like, hey, you email, hey, where are you? Oh, goodness.
No, I wasn't panicking just yet. I know you're pretty prompt about all your stuff, and I love that you always follow through with your commitments, and just unless something dire happens and you really, really can't, you're always one of those guys that you can depend on. So, tell me about what you've been doing lately, because I know you've got a couple different books out right now that you are running, and I think you just released a new book, right?
I released released a new book on the 23rd, another one on the 30th, and I have another one on the screen that I should finish writing today or tomorrow that will publish on April 27th.
Oh, wow. When I first joined the 20 Books to 50K group, so the folks out there that are not familiar with it, Michael Anderley had this idea: if you had like 20 books and that you were running, and people were reading your back catalog and stuff like that, you should be able to make about 50K a year. And the idea was to be able to kind of self finance your way to a career, really being able to kind of just have this career as an indie author. It has grown tremendously since those beginning days, and I think I joined about a year and a half ago or so, maybe almost 2 years ago, and it's helped me a lot. You have really done a great job with the group, you and Michael. But you're pretty much like the guy that runs the nuts and bolts of things, and then you have an admin team that help out. So could you tell us a little bit more about the 20 Books to 50K group?
I took over the group about 3 years ago when we were, I think at like 5,000, 8,000 members, and it started as a retirement plan, actually. The 20 books, if each book was earning $7.50 a day, that's all you had to earn from it. Then you made about $50,000 a year. And Cabo San Lucas, you can retire fairly comfortably if you had $35,000 a year. So it's a retirement plan. It's not 20 books in a year, but just 20 books that are earning this much. And it blossomed into the movement of 20 books to 50K, which is about helping authors to realize that this well of readers is bottomless. No matter who you are, you write, you're going to be able to find readers. Now, there are ways to write a little bit better or write a different story, one that can appeal to more readers, and a continuous improvement mentality towards financing yourself, towards selling books. And we've taken this, we cross every genre boundary. We have people from, at 20 Books Vegas last year, we had, I think, 53 different genres represented, wow. Which is, if you look, I think there's something like 10,000 subgenres on Amazon. I mean, they go to the nth degree at the sub genre. Like, instead of science fiction, it's science fiction mystery now, science fiction, YA, young adult science fiction, Westerns is another category. So there's so many subcategories, but still, it's, if you write something, it will appeal to somebody, and you can help yourself to appeal to more people. So it's a combination of craft. Even though we don't break it down by craft, we do recommend some other groups and some groupings of authors to help each other. But it goes to the business side, because I believe everybody is a storyteller. Every human is a natural storyteller. Putting it down in writing takes a little bit of work to develop that skill. But then the business side, so you reap the rewards from your artistry, is not overwhelming. I don't think there's anything that anybody can't do. I always say that if you can write a book, you can manage the business. You can sell that book. It's how do you organize that? Well, it depends by country. It depends how big you're going to be, what you're going to do with this, how you're going to make your sales. Most indie authors sell online, so that's a different approach, and actually the easiest approach. Many places there's no taxes if you cross state boundaries with a digital sale. Some places there are. You just take that into account for your pricing to make sure that you aren't underselling your stuff. You aren't taking a loss with each sale, that you do have some kind of profit margin. And those kinds of things we talk about to help people understand what is profit margin, what are sunk costs, what are recurring costs, what's contribution margin. All those terms, you don't even need to know them, but we talk about them in a way that it demystifies that process. So all of this stuff is open season. Indies helping indies at no cost. Now, we recommend classes and stuff that may have a cost to them, like Mark Dawson's Amazon Ads or SPF 101 are both stellar courses that jumpstart you wherever you are in your career. But generally, you don't need those. You don't need anything except to invest time in yourself, time in your business, and then time to improve after you've started.
That's one of the things I like with what y'all have set up with the 20 Books to 50K group, because it's not a promotional group at all. There is no selling in there. I mean, y'all do the weekly, kind of like promo, like, hey, like today you posted something about, share your first 3 lines of your blurb for your book, those kind of things. But the focus of the group is on skill sets and helping each other out. It's not trying to, because you're really not, you don't want to try to sell to other authors. The whole thing is trying to help each other, like, okay, learning those skill sets that you need. And everybody's on a different level. I mean, there's folks like yourself who are, in the 6 digits. There's folks like me who are in the, 0 digits. So you get people of all ranges, but I think it does come back to like how you manage your business. And, like I learned a couple different big mistakes myself, because I really haven't done a lot with advertising and marketing. And that's one of the areas that I'm trying to learn and focus on, but then also building up my back catalog, because I don't have that many published books. And that's one of the things that, like you said the last time, you had a guy that picked up your entire series and he read, I think it was 7 or 8 books in a week or something like that.
Yep.
And if you don't have a back catalog, you got to start somewhere, but I do love the fact that group that you focus on that, and then you got the new, well, it's relatively new, but the YouTube series where you're
Yeah.
interviewing and talking with different people. So, can you tell us more about that?
Now that was in a direct response to the COVID-19 outbreak,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody's world changing.
Oh yeah.
So many people were a little bit distraught, anxious, nervous. I mean, so many different things. 5 stages of grief. Everything was going on. Emotions were roiling, and I wanted to give folks someplace to go every day for an hour to get away from all of that and focus on themselves and their business.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you talk about your business, whether it's productivity, whether it's a specific genre, whether it's advertising, marketing, Michael Anderle and I did an hour and a half on Saturday, just us talking about a variety of different things. But we touch on a lot of stuff that might have some import to people, and it's about your business. As a self-published author, you can work from home, so this is your time to shine. Even if you have now your kids are at home and you got to teach them, but developing that routine and certain things that we talk about and hopefully help people with to manage their business during this time of so many unknowns.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I did, an hour a day, just to help people through this period, whether it's a month or 3 months. We'll do our best to distract them as well as help them be more professional. And this is I keep saying, and this is my new thing, is that I think we're the most professional author organization out there, and you don't have to do anything to join except answer our Facebook questions and be upright. Don't be
Mm-hmm.
be kind
Mm-hmm.
in your interactions online, and don't self-promote,
Mm-hmm.
because it's not 20 books 50K is not a marketplace. It is a marketplace of ideas. So we'll exchange ideas. We'll say, here's what worked for me. It is not a place where we dictate anything. And this is something that'll get somebody kicked out. You must get an editor. Well, then that's not how we approach it. Here's what I did. I published my first book without an editor. I did get it edited. I re-uploaded it thanks to Amazon. It's not one and done. It's not like the old TradPub days where you have to buy 10,000 paperback copies of a book and then you sell them out of your garage. And not at all. The digital world, you can update your book if you have any changes. All good, but telling somebody that you must is one of the strict mandates. You don't do that, and that's part of Be Kind.
Yeah.
You just say what you did, because then it's my first person experience, and you have enough people saying that, and you're going to see trends. You're going to see people who are in your genre who are saying, I'm doing this and it's working. And you're able to hopefully shape your career in a way that benefits you and your family.
Well, that is one of the aspects that I like, that you are very strict about people not giving prescriptive advice, because it's going to be different for everybody, and I think that's one of the things, Craig, that I enjoy as an author with the group, because there's a bounty of resources out there, and you also share like current market data, you share trends. The whole YouTube thing is like an answer to, like, hey, there's all this chaos going on with folks, and a lot of people are not sure what to do. I saw an author today on Twitter post that she is publishing her book into a black hole, and there's a lot of that kind of doom and gloom right now, and I do appreciate the fact that I mean, we have to be realistic. We have to be realistic. Times have changed, but one of the things that I enjoy is being able to see those positive messages, being able to see, like, okay, I'm not where I want to be with my author career, but I know that I'm on the steps to getting to where I want to be. You know what I mean? And one of the things I appreciate you coming on the show, is that this is another avenue, because I have a lot of friends that, we're here in, Georgia, and we have a group of friends that we are all authors, and we do local stuff, and we all want to make our career with it better. We all want to get to that next level, and we're all like working on it. So that's I mean, I know I keep giving you kudos here, but I really appreciate it and admire it, because here you are, you're where a lot of people want to be with your author career. You're doing the things that people want to do, and you're approachable, you're available, and you are there every single day. I mean, like even on Sundays and Wednesdays when the admin stuff is shut down, you're still sharing and posting and helping out. So that's one of the things I think we need right now is more of that and less of the doom and gloom and like, oh, the sky's going to completely fall. And
Oh my goodness, I see too many of my friends because we in a small business, especially as an author, you analyze your own data. You look at your sales, you look at your ads, you look at your ad costs, you look at which ones are doing better than others. You refine, you revise, and you keep moving forward, trying to find ads that cost you as little as possible that earn you as much as possible.
mm-hmm.
So that's part of the game. So a lot of indie authors will like analyzing the numbers. Well, the virus hits, and now a lot of indie authors are analyzing the numbers, and it's degenerating into doom and gloom.
Yeah.
Oh my God! It's my analysis suggests 250,000 people are going to die. We don't need to add our voices to that.
Right.
So I went through quickly. Here's what the 5 stages of grief are, and hey, everybody, how about if we just get right to the end, because you're going to get there eventually. The end of acceptance. The virus is here. I got to stay home. Here's what I need to do. Okay, I don't get to run out and get creamer or take Taco Bell, do Taco Bell takeaway. So let's. How about if we just focus on something else? So that's just trying to get people to get to that acceptance stage of it's a new world right now. You got to live with it as it is, and control what's in your control. And I doing these the 1 hour shows in the morning every day, 6 a.m. my time,
mm-hmm.
because I want that to demonstrate if you have a rigid structure of your day, you can get a lot done. Because I'm still writing, 3,200 words a day. I've averaged for the last 2 weeks now.
Wow.
And in addition to an hour-long show, I've got an hour with you this afternoon, and as well as 20 Books Vegas, getting that online, as well as all these other things that I've got going on, which actually equate to about a full-time job.
Oh, yeah.
So writing is almost a secondary gig, yet I'm still getting 3,200 words a day, which is almost 1 million. It's over 1 million words in a year if I maintain that pace.
Wow. Let's do a station announcement real quick. This is one of the everybody tuning in. Today, you're listening to The Adam Messer Show, and I'm your host, Adam Messer, and my special guest is Craig Martelle. And please stay tuned for this important announcement.
This is a message from the Georgia State Department of Public Health. There is a State of Georgia hotline people can call with questions or if they think they may have been exposed to the COVID-19 virus. It is 1-844-442-2681. If you believe you're experiencing symptoms of COVID-19 or have been exposed to the novel coronavirus, please contact your primary care doctor, an urgent care clinic, or your local federally qualified healthcare center. Please do not show up at an emergency room or healthcare facility unannounced. More information can be found at dph.georgia.gov.
Okay, so we're back. Craig, I think you hit it on the head with the grief because, like, I am an essential worker. I've been having to go to work daily. My wife and my children are at home, and it is one of those things. Like every day, I think like when I go out, am I going to be exposed to somebody? Am I going to expose my family to that? And I try to take all the precautions that I can. And I do electrical work during the day. So, but I have been trying to do other things with my writing, and to be able to focus on that. One of the things I had to make a decision was I have a small imprint called Valhalla Books that I wanted to launch. And I've got 10 authors that we're going to do an anthology, and I wanted to release it in May. But I only had about half of the authors submit their stories. The other half were having different problems and whatever. So I had to make a decision. Okay, this is a brand new imprint. This is a brand new whatever, do I want to postpone it? And, so I made the decision to wait until October to launch that new imprint and new book. And I know that there are people out there putting their books out right now, and there's a lot of content out there right now. But I felt like it was the best decision for me and for the authors, with the anthology, to be able to regroup and refocus. Because let's face it, there's a lot of stuff going on, and sometimes you have to make decisions like you're talking about with your business. Sometimes you have to make decisions you don't like. Because I really wanted to put it out in May, but I felt like it would be a better time to wait because, as a new book, as a new series or whatever, I'd be competing against a ton of stuff that's going out right now. And, trying to find those readers, that there are readers out there for everybody. It's just trying to, to find those readers. And that's one of the things that I, as an author and as a small print and publisher or small publisher, imprint, am working on connecting with those readers, building that up, but also trying to do what's best for my authors and for me, and making sure that I'm making, good decisions. So one of the things that I've been doing in the meantime is like I picked up the rest of your indie author books, and then I picked up another series of indie author books, and I've been just trying to read more about the business side of publishing. So I'm trying to use the time wisely. And it's I'm gonna be honest with you. When you say you've been writing 3,200 words a day, and you've been managing the 20 books to 50K group, and you've been doing a daily YouTube episode, and you've been doing interviews and stuff like that, it's like, wow, this, and I don't think people should compare themselves, though. I think one of the things that people do, though, is they compare themselves, and they're like, oh man, look at Craig, he's doing so much, and yada, yada. That's not the point. That,
No.
Comparing yourself is not, right now especially, but comparing yourself is not a good idea ever. You have to do what's right for you, and you have to be able to say, okay, well, this might have worked for Craig, but let me try it. If it doesn't work for me, let me see if I can adapt it or change it a little bit and modify it. But what do you say to folks out there that, that they see the, like, hey, here's where, this guy is and here's where I'm at. Because there's a lot, I mean, like, I would say that the majority of people are not, making a ton of money with their writing, and they want to. And then you've got a smaller percent of people that are doing, that. And they, it didn't happen overnight. I mean, I know you've shared your story a bunch of times, and I know it didn't happen overnight for you, but you've worked hard.
It is one of the most destructive things is to compare yourself against other people. Too many authors will look at, they'll read and they love an author and they say, I want to start writing because there's a story that needs to be told. And they write, and it's not as good as their favorite author. Well, no kidding, it's not.
Right.
You can't compare your first book, the first time going out on a golf course, to a professional golfer.
Right.
Geez, I didn't hit the ball close to the pin. Well, no kidding. And you watch your pros, they don't all the time either. They just do it more often than everybody else. Mm-hmm. And that's a result of practice. You practice writing by writing. You don't practice writing by writing something and then editing it, trying to make it perfect. Because I talked about that in one of our shows this week, was if you wrote 200 words, then you edit those 200 words, and then you re-edit those, you still only have 200 words.
Right.
You need to have 200 new words each day. And then at the end of the week, you'll have 1,400 words as opposed to 200 words that you edited 7 times. It's simple math, but it's also mindset. The most important thing of your mindset is moving forward. You look through the windshield and not the rearview mirror.
Yeah.
So too many indies get accused of, well, they're just publishing garbage. They just write something and publish it. There are cases like that out there. But once again, come back to 20 books to 50K. What do we tell people? The very best product you can put out as quickly as you can put it out.
The MVP stuff. Yeah, I love that. I love that you encourage people to share their most viable product.
Yep. Which I can explain that real quick. That's an IT term that Michael Anderle used in his business, in his prior to writing business. and it's the minimum product that works. So minimum viable product.
Oh, minimum. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you'll write your first 3,000 words and you'll float it past people who are readers of your target genre that you're targeting with this story. And it's a very simple process. Either, yes, I want to read more, or I would read more if, so there's some issues that might be in the story, or I don't want to read anymore. Very simple. It saves you a lot of time and grief, because what you want is, I want to read more. And I still do this. I published over 100 books, and I sent my first, usually about 5,000 words, to my insider team. And I'm looking for, do they have any questions? Are they just excited about this direction the story's going? Are they jonesing to read more? And almost inevitably they say yes. And occasionally they'll say, well, what's this? It seems like an odd tendril at the outset. And I have to go back and I re-wicker things just to make sure we're flowing in the right direction. So even I, with over 100 books published, have to get this kind of neutral input to make sure that I'm not writing a whole book that people are going to hate and not buy.
Well, that makes perfect sense, because if you look at any kind of product out there, companies test market products, they test market other things. And that's the same, like what you're talking about. It's basically, you're doing a test market for the folks that would be like your readers, because they are your readers. And, you're trying to identify any kind of opportunities or issues, or, and then also save yourself, the time, because, if it's a dud, even if in your head, you're like, oh man, it's the best story. If people don't like it and they don't want to read it, why invest, 60,000 words in it when it's not really appealing,
Yeah, that's right. And that's so important to get that feedback early, so you don't write a whole book and then realize that, oh man, this is garbage.
Yeah.
Just say it's now, I wrote 4 books before I had a person read the first one. So it's okay. You can do it different ways, but it's just a way. It's one of those things I learned later after I had written my first 4 books, because there was no group. There was no 20 books to 50K when I first started.
Right.
I was one of the first people who came over with Michael to his new Facebook group, because he's like, hey, I'm doing things a certain way. I'm just going to share that. Let's share what we do, and let's publish some damn books.
Yeah.
And we did. We published a lot of books.
All right, so we are going to take a little station break, everybody. I'm going to have Sebastian, do you mind playing a little bit more for us? And then we've got a few announcements. So everybody stay tuned. Listen to the Adam Messer Show here on WRUU LP Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings, community radio with global soul. And our special guest today is Craig Martelle. So we will be back in just a few minutes. Bass, you want to take it away?
This portion of WRUU LP Savannah Soundings programming is brought to you by listeners and the Ships of the Sea Museum. One of the hidden secrets of the Ships of the Sea Museum is its gardens. Native plants are interspersed with exotic tropical plants throughout the gardens. Visitors can enjoy everything that has earned the Ships of the Sea Museum the Trip Experts 2015 Experts Choice Award. You can find out more about the Ships of the Sea Museum at the website shipsofthesea.org. Voting is now open for Connect Savannah's annual Best of Savannah Readers Poll, and WRUU is once again on the ballot. Last year, you voted us best in the local radio station and talk radio station categories. Continue your support of WRUU 107.5 FM by again voting for us in the Best Local Radio Station and Best Local Talk Radio Station categories. And this year, vote for your favorite WRUU morning program and favorite WRUU host. Voting ends at 11:59 p.m. sharp on Tuesday, April 14th, and results will be revealed the night of Tuesday, May 19th. For details and voting, visit connectsavannah.com. And as always, thank you for listening to, supporting, and voting for WRUU LP Savannah. Now you have a chance to support both Savannah Independent Artists and WRUU during this shelter-in-place order to stop the spread of COVID-19. Creatives in Need is a group of independent artists hosted by the Roots Up Gallery, which is collaborating with WRUU during this shelter-in-place to offer an online art gallery at www.rootsupgallery.com. For every work of art sold at this online gallery, the artists receive 80% from the sales and 20% goes to WRUU and its programs like Art on the Air. Interested listeners can go to www.rootsupgallery.com to start shopping today.
All right, everybody, we are back, and thank you for tuning in today. So, Craig, I really appreciate you being with us on the show today, and we left off where you had just joined up with Michael Anderley and his Facebook group, 20 Books to 50K, and he was sharing some best practices in that group, and it's grown tremendously. I mean, I know it's grown a lot since I joined the group, and it seems like there's new members every week, every day that are joining, and and I do agree with you. I think that that group is probably the best group that you could join and to learn from, because the resources are all open and free to everybody. There are people that post and they kind of break the rules, but they get cleaned up pretty quickly. The group really, there aren't people that are out there trolling, and the folks that do try to troll, which is every once in a while they get booted out. So the be kind thing, I think, is a big part of it. And also it really, you have in the files and the resources, there's any level that you're at, you can pick up and say, hey, okay, well, I want to focus on Amazon ads, or I want to focus on, cover art, or my blurbs, or, all the different parts that go into, publishing your book. And it's all open for free. There's no charge for it, and it's amazing because there are so many people out there that, I call it shovels and jeans. Like back in the day when they had the gold mining rush, it wasn't really the gold miners that made the money. It was the folks that were selling shovels and jeans. And there's a lot of folks out there that they try to sell you on, hey, you should do it this way, or you should do it that way, or, and one of the things I like about the group is that there are all those same resources. You have to kind of dig through it yourself and say, hey, okay, well, this is what, I should be checking out or whatever. You kind of have to make your own, I guess, schedule of what you want to study. But
that's right. You have to decide how you want to invest your time. And we actually posted a video on how to search the group to help people search and find those kinds of specifics that they're looking for.
Yeah. And there's actually a section in there with the files too, right? Where people can go to the file and they can look at, the Word documents and PDFs and stuff like that. And of course this, the new YouTube videos are, like topic specific, and it's pretty awesome. Actually,
and that's something as well. It's a closed group. It's a private group, so you can see it, but you can't see anything in it. And so it's private for our members. Membership is basically anybody can get in as long as you're a real human being and a budding author, and you answer our questions satisfactorily and have a satisfactory profile. And you can go in and be whatever. So a professional group with a very, very low bar to entry. And
and there's no fees to join. I mean, there's a lot of groups out there that they're like, oh, you have to join our membership to get into the group. There's no memberships. There's none of that.
Nope.
So that's one of the nice things. I mean, it really kind of is like an open source indie publishing group. I mean, like it just, there's so much there.
But it's still moderated, which is the big thing to keep the trolls from destroying the group. And yeah, we may delete a post or two that could be helpful, but I would rather do that than have the group degenerate. But we do our live streams in the group so nobody can see them. But this is something we do from our conferences too, is then we post the videos on YouTube where anybody can watch them.
Yeah.
So it's not, we're not limiting what we do. We're limiting our open forum to those folks who have at least passed that barrier to entry and agreed to our rules. But then we make everything available to pretty much everybody.
I know I've been saying I like this a lot, but it really, honestly, folks, if you're listening, this is a great resource to check out, because it's not just Craig and Mike talking all the time, or Michael Anderley. Those two are, like, they're like the leaders, and they say, hey, we're going to do this. But they have all kinds of folks from the publishing arena that they talk with about different aspects of publishing. I mean, even if you're just like, I always thought I had an idea for a book, they have a topic for you that you could check out. So how moving forward, like when things kind of resume normalcy or whatever, do you plan on continuing doing the YouTube videos, but maybe like on a weekly or bi-weekly basis?
We were already doing weekly, the CNM show, whenever Michael was in town, and it was just us. We didn't have guests on or anything. But having the guests, I assume no, because once the world gets back to normal, I'm going to have to start traveling again for the future. I have a trip scheduled. I heard from hopefully our host hotel in Vegas yesterday regarding 2021 and 2022, because we're going to have to move. The conference, the 20 Books Vegas conferences have outgrown the current venue, which this year will be the last year. So I still have all of that going on. Plus, I'm going to start a weekend, what I'm going to call Indie Capstone, a weekend retreat for indies at various levels of their career. I'm going to take 10 to 12, and I'll personally run the workshop for a weekend.
Oh, nice.
And we'll have those in various locations. So yeah, selling picks and shovels, here I am. Oh my God, it's sharing the knowledge. There's so many people who look for the information and would benefit from that personal intervention early in their careers of, you're going the wrong direction. I mean, they can hear it online, but if they see me right in their face, you're going in the wrong direction. Mm-hmm. Here's what it sounds like you're capable of doing and what you are doing. How about if you work within those constraints to move forward to a place that you're comfortable with? Because a lot of people are trying to be something they're not by competing against people like me. I don't have little kids at home.
Right.
This is what I do: 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. But maybe only 12 to 14 only, but 7 days a week, 365 days a year. I work every day. I write every single day.
Right.
So I have product that and every story is my baby. But then when I'm done writing it, I sell my baby, and that's what you have to put on your business hat and take your beautiful baby out and then sell it, because that's what we do. We sell our books, and if you're writing for your own then you don't need 20 books to 50K.
Right.
Because we're about the marketing and selling, because your words have value. And you know what? After you sell it, you can look at it and say, yes, you're still my baby, and you can still modify it. You can still adjust it. You can change it and then put it out again, republish it. So all of these things, it's not bad. It's just a way to make money, realize that value from your words.
Well, I think it's important too, because it is a business, and the difference, I think, between the folks that are still on the amateur level and then the professional level, being professional doesn't mean that you're necessarily making a ton of money. It's just on how you conduct your business, because everybody has to start off somewhere. Like you said, you had written 4 books before you sold your first one. so everybody starts out somewhere. They have to, invest that time. But I really feel like building those skill sets up is so important. And that's one of the things I admire about what you're doing. And I think when I was saying shovels and jeans, I wasn't talking about because when you do the conferences, you're not making a profit on it. You're just
Yeah.
selling the tickets to cover costs. And then if you're going to be doing a new like mentor group or whatever, I think that's fantastic because that could be a boost that somebody needs for their career. They
Yeah.
a lot of times, I had a good friend of mine named Kevin. I love him to death, but I would ask him a question and he'd answer that question, and it wasn't the answer that I was looking for though. And then he would joke around with me that I wasn't asking the right question, and I was like, well,
I love Kevin. I love Kevin already.
right? And so I learned it's like, okay, sometimes it's not necessarily, the answer that you're looking for, but you have to learn which questions to ask. So
Yes.
asking better questions, right? And I think that's like somebody like you who you are, you're in the business, you are, you're working it day after day after day after day. Like one full week of your work compared to a part timer like me, that's at least a month, maybe a month and a half worth of work, of actual solid work, and so
And the difference, and what I would tell people, and you've heard me say this, is don't compare yourself against me. Compare yourself against yourself. So
right,
maybe this month's worth of work was 5 weeks worth of work a year ago. And so you're improving and it's better. So that tail end, after you get done, there's less editing because your words are better. They're massaged. They resonate better with the test readers and things like that.
I
And that's the journey.
that's the part that I love. It's building those skill sets up and making that constant improvement. Because I can say, as an indie author, I know that my work has gotten better because the people that have read my work, they're like, "Oh wow, I can see an improvement or whatever." But the business part of it, for me, is something that I'm working on. And so I don't, and that's one of the reasons why I keep coming back around to this is the comparing yourself to other people. I don't compare myself to other people. What I look at is like I see, a Craig Martelle, and I'm like, wow, this guy's doing what I want to do. How did he get there? What are the steps that I need to take on my level to be able to advance and improve what I'm doing? And you guys share all that stuff for free, which is amazing.
Yeah. And there's the thing we try to help people understand is that there are a lot of steps. Don't be so results oriented. I want to be a million seller.
Right, right.
Well, you called me one of the most successful indie authors. I've only sold, a few 100,000 copies. Okay, that's to me that sounds pretty impressive because that's a lot of books, but it's not a million seller. If I want to be a million seller, I need to keep pressing. I need to improve my ad game. All of those things that I talk to other people about. Now, the good news is in my position with 20 books to 50K, I've met some great people, some incredible people. On tomorrow's show, I have Kevin J. Anderson. He has over 23 million books in print. So
Wow.
what does he do differently? Well, he had traditional published contracts. He collaborates, but what does that mean? And how do you maintain your edge after working in the business for 30 years?
Mm-hmm. I think that's a great way to look at it because if you consider business, let's just take cornflakes for example. Okay, cornflakes, despite what brand they are, you have your basic cornflakes. I'm not talking about flavored and all that. I'm just talking about just plain, ordinary cornflakes. Cornflakes have been around for a long time, but what do companies do? They come up with new ways to remarket that product.
Yep.
Even though it's the same old cornflakes, they make new boxes, they do new advertising, they stay relevant with the market, and then they try to find ways to appeal to people for their product and say, oh, well, how do we get the next generation? Because I remember as a kid, I didn't really care for cornflakes. I didn't like cornflakes. I thought they were nasty. Anytime I'd have to eat them, I'd have to put a lot of sugar on it. And then today I'm like, I still don't like cornflakes.
Yeah.
But
Well, That's a great example. The cornflakes is a premier example, because no matter what you eat or have, cornflakes are still one of the mainstays, one of the biggest sellers for cereal.
Yep.
Cornflakes and puffed rice,
Yep.
the two very, very simple breakfast cereals. Now, cornflakes went through, I grew up eating Frosted Flakes, very sugary. But nowadays, what do you see? High in fiber, low sugar. This is the healthiest breakfast you're going to be able to eat. You eat it with your almond milk. So now they're appealing to a whole different generation of health conscious parents who are feeding their children cornflakes, which you and I had 30 years ago, 40 years ago, and we put sugar on them and did those kinds of things. Now maybe the parents are putting not corn, but coconut sugar or something different on them to not have processed sugar, but it's still cornflakes.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you just bought a box of cornflakes, and the company is happy that you did, and will be happy that you buy another box next week.
I think, that's amazing. When you're talking about how do you take and learn that new skill set, how do you stay relevant? How do you, get to that next level? Because let me do a station ID real quick.
Yep.
Everybody, you're listening to WRUU LP Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings Community Radio with Global Soul. And my special guest today is Craig Martelle. And right now we're kind of talking about marketing, and then we're talking about the life cycle process of advertising and stuff like that. And we were just talking about cornflakes and how cornflakes, they go through the marketing and advertising life cycle. With the skill sets, so the foundation of the skill sets, I feel like when a person is, they have a desire, they have a goal or whatever, and then they start building those skill sets, and they start building and building and building and building, and they learn from their mistakes, and they move forward, and they reach out to industry experts like yourself and other folks, and they take that and they say, okay, wait a minute, if Craig is dealing with this experience right now, maybe I should pay attention. Maybe I should listen. Maybe I should lean in a little bit more. And that's what I'm doing. I'm leaning in and I'm trying to listen more. And you and other folks that you work with, you guys are sharing and you're saying, hey, this is what we're experiencing. And that's going to be like that's going to resonate down, it's going to resonate up. And, so when it going back to cornflakes, it's like, okay, well, our books are our cornflakes, right? And the genres are the flavors of the cornflakes or whatever. But how do we appeal to new consumers? How do we appeal to new readers? How do we deal with the 5 stages of grief that we're all going through right now? How do we get past that and, have that positivity and the resolve to move forward? Because I've seen some people, Craig, that are like, I'm just going to give up. I'm just going to quit.
Yeah.
Like, why?
I've seen a lot of that already too.
Like, why?
Like, oh my God, my book sales tanked. I'm done. It's like, oh, hang on there, Big Husky. When's the last time you published? There's so many variables that go into publishing a book. March 2020 was one of my biggest months ever, my 4th biggest month ever. And you could look at, oh my God, the pandemic hit. Yeah, but I had 2 new releases. I had 2 omnibus editions published. I had 2 major marketing campaigns that I started setting up in December, because you need at least 2 months lead time to get some promotional newsletters and things like that. So it's business as usual. I have April promotions set up. I have May promotions set up. I've set up some in June and leaning towards July, just to maintain my strategy. Strategy is your long-term, tactics are your short-term. So the tactics are different shares, different approaches, maybe change up the ad language a little bit, but it's still, you have to do your business. And so race past those 5 stages of grief, get to the end, acceptance, and manage your business. And this is something that it's so important for everyone to do. It's because it will keep you at the end of the day. If all of a sudden a cure has been found and the death rate drops to almost 0, and all of a sudden we can go back about our business, people are going to look back and say, oh my God, I did this. I struggled. I was so depressed. And they're going to have to dig themselves out of the hole when those folks who were able to cut out the outside world and put on their business hat and get to work
Mm-hmm.
and stay at work. And even if it's you got the kids at home now, even if it's only writing 30 minutes a day, but it's your 30 minutes, make it the most you can make of it, and keep moving forward. Because when all of this ends, if it ends magically in 2 months, 3 months, those people who keep writing are going to publish content, and those people who weren't able to do anything because they were so gripped with worry, then they're going to be behind a power curve, and it's going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. Yeah, maybe you should have quit when you shouldn't have. I encourage everybody, keep doing what you're doing, but do it better. So the videos, this interview, even though we set up this interview 2 months ago about.
Well, that's actually a perfect example because, pipelining stuff, we set this interview up like 2 months ago, and, we didn't know anything about COVID-19 then. Nothing.
No.
And, it's just kind of crazy how it all came about. But I think that's a perfect example of what you were saying with pipelining stuff, because you are setting things, ahead, because you're saying, hey, okay, I'm managing this business. Well, you don't manage it. You have to manage things day to day, but it's a lot better to be able to manage things when you're, like you said, a strategy versus a tactic. The day to day are your tactics because things happen. Your strategy is like, okay, what's the long game here? I'm looking at the bottom of the ninth, not the first inning.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really great way to relay that. I love that you say that. We've got just like about 2 or 3 minutes left, Craig. What's up next? I know it's CraigMartelle.com, right? That people can check out your stuff. What's coming out next?
Next up is actually Executioner 9, the one I'm going to finish today or tomorrow. I've got it on the other screen. I've got a couple scenes. I think I'm going to extend the last scene, so I may have to write 10,000 words in the next day and a half or so. But it's okay because I know the scene, and I'll get it done and then turn it over to my editor. It's up for pre-order for May 18th, but we're going to early that up all the way to April 27th. So that needs to be uploaded by April 20th. Executioner 9, that's the Judge, Jury, and Executioner series, which is my current front runner in regards to all my series. This is a 9th book, and there's no end in sight. I don't have it ends at 10. No, not at all. It's going to end when I'm tired of writing stories that I love to write, and so it'll go on for as long as the readers keep coming back, and they do. With each new release, I get a huge bump on the whole series. So it's great to see, and as a writer, it's really uplifting, and I like it. I like it, and then keep my other campaigns going and sell my backlist, and keep rolling, keep moving forward.
I really appreciate you being on the show. I think it's so cool how you have such a great positive attitude, and that's the kind of leadership I feel that we need in today's world. Not just today's world, but especially in today's world, because there are a lot of folks out there who are, depressed and they have anxiety and things like that. And they compare themselves. So I really appreciate you coming on, Craig. Thank you so much for everything that you do, and Michael Anderle and all the folks of the 20 Books to 50K group. And, so thanks again so much for everything that you're doing.
My pleasure, Adam. Thanks for having me on, and thanks for doing your show. It's a public service, man.
I appreciate it. Well, I'll talk to you later, Craig, and I'll see you on the online. But everybody, check out CraigMartelle.com and the 20 Books to 50K group. You have to, you can go on there yourself on Facebook, but you have to fill out the questions, follow the rules, but it'd be well worth it. So take care, Craig. Thanks a lot.
All right. Bye-bye, Adam.
All right, everybody, we're going to be doing a station break for just a few minutes, and we